Sure do.
Do we have enough?
Yeah, dog. I want to read this one, though.
Those are so pretty.
Thank you.
You want to read this one?
Yeah, there might be some.
Scooting it towards me home flat.
Because there's some on the other
okay.
side.
Jerk.
Brie, come get your son. He's being so bad.
He's knocked over wine. He has tried to knock over the the vase of flowers.
Try to walk on the computer.
Yeah. I don't know. What are you doing? He's obsessing over a spot on the carpet right now.
That's fine.
Oh, there's something inside the carpet.
Oh.
I bet it's what Jesse was chewing on last week. It's like part of a doll or something.
Or what if it's ghosty?
It's not. I know exactly what it is.
We need to clean this room and find ghosty.
It's a Reese's Pieces. See, he did like them. He's having fun with them. How cute.
Oh, good.
Okay.
This is our podcast, True Crime Paranormal. That's Brie.
And that is Amy, and it is the holiday season.
What's with the snow outside and your neighbors out back?
Shitting, cleaning out the shitter.
The
shitter's full.
The most wonderful time of the year for murder.
In my opinion, it's the most terrible time of year here.
It is. But,
but Christmas brightens it up a little bit.
It does. And
it's why we put up our lights super early.
Yes. And we have Christmas snow. We have guaranteed a white Christmas.
We have a white Halloween. It's very enchanting. So, if you want a magical Christmas, come to the North Pole, everybody. It is beautiful.
It is fun to see the visitors that come by and they take the pictures and stuff. That's really cute.
Do you know, I realized what I love today? So I was looking out through our back windows.
I'm sorry.
And there's all those pine trees or whatever, and or Christmas trees, the evergreen, and the sun was just coming out coming out of the clouds, and it was probably 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, sunrise, normal time.
Right.
And just the tips of them were shining the sun, but the sun was orange or pink. And the tips of the trees all looked like they were red or pink glowing. It was so pretty.
Oh.
And I love, you've seen that before.
I'm sure I have.
It's so pretty though. And you don't get that anywhere else.
No, you do not. You're correct.
It's very neat.
You also don't get 11 o'clock sunrises.
Yeah. It's great.
It's great here. I go to work in the dark and I come home in the dark.
So much fun. Do you want to hear a neighborhood story?
Yes, please.
So this one is from Amy. Printed straight from her computer.
Oh, shut
Because Amy was smart and printed out a bunch of Christmas-themed ones. Oh, this one's from next door. And it says, snowman arms for sale. Only $30 a pair. I sell snowman arms. $30 a pair. What? $30 a pair? That's $60. Oh, $30 for both of them.
Yeah.
So, if you want a deal, if you only need one arm, can you just pay $15 and get one of them?
Maybe.
I've seen that here a lot, where people will mess around on Facebook Market and sell snowmen, or they'll sell piles of snow.
Yeah.
What is with you guys to this evening, this wintry day? Leon's like, what are you doing? What are you into?
So what's the pictures? Just two snowman sticks.
Two snowman arms.
Two twigs.
Two twigs. They got 3 fingers, like a normal snowman would.
Actually, that's actually a pretty good snowman arm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good quality.
Yeah.
Looks like it was
Sturdy.
freshly picking or fallen. I don't know.
And
or
twindled. Twindled? Is it twindled?
It would make a lovely frosty.
Yeah, we can't make snowmen here, so.
Yeah. What? Did you ever showed you the snowman that Josh made our first winter here?
Was it your first? Was it the first snowfall? The first and last snowfall you can make snowman because the snow's
wet.
Yeah,
it's packable. Hold on a second. Sorry, everybody. 2020. Where are you? It's right in here. Why am I doing that? I don't know. Giving Amy more things to have to edit out, and I apologize.
I would just edit out this whole section of
Son
just sitting
of
here.
a pup. Oh.
I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Let's just say cold does not make a difference with this snowman. I'll post it on Patreon.
Oh, yay. Oh my gosh.
And then he took it away and
showed the girls
so that I could and so that we could have it up in the neighborhood. It was up, but we'd have the actual snowman up as well.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's really hard to make.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story.
Let's just say Mrs. Frosty was very pleased.
Oh my god. You're making me blush so much.
Hi, Candy.
She doesn't
I love
listen to
you.
Patreon.
I can't wait to meet you.
So I wanted to do another story, a different story. This is not the original story that I wanted to do, but the other story that I wanted to do, I couldn't find it. Like, I know it's out there. Okay, that's a lie. I could find it, but the Daily News Miner wanted me to pay money.
Yeah, what is with that?
And I was like, I'm not paying money for that.
I know. Like, Wikipedia, honestly, I do donate. I started donating
Yeah,
because they make me feel bad.
Yeah.
Every time. They're like, oh, we noticed you visited this site 3 times today. You could donate or you could not. And I'm like, cool, that makes me feel bad. Like, oh, it needs profits and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, fine, I'll donate like 25 cents a month or
but
something.
But also, people go donate to Wikipedia because we all use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's a nonprofit, so go donate like $5. And it's not like you have to like subscribe to it.
You can donate 25 cents. You can donate as little as you want. Every penny counts.
Yeah. I donate like once a year whenever that thing pops up saying that like it's...
I think I did like a monthly of like $1.
Oh, I didn't know you could do monthly. That. Yeah. I'll just like, it's normally towards the end of the year that it pops up, I think. And so I'll donate like $5 or $10 depending on how generous I'm feeling. Also, don't donate. Here's a PSA for those that don't know. When you go to a store and they're like, do you want to donate $5 to the children's blah, 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 or your local food bank? Don't do it, because if you don't know, they turn around and they take that money that they have collected from everybody and then they donate it and get a tax break.
Yep.
And
go donate if you want to donate to that. Yeah, that's exactly what Josh always tells me. He's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're so mean. He's like, no, they're doing it to get a tax break. He's like, if you want to donate to them, then go donate them to yourselves.
Yeah.
It's not like a matter of like, I want to get the credit. No, it's a donate of they're being selfish.
Yeah, they're taking our money and then getting the tax break for it. One thing I do feel bad about is when they ask you, like, do you want to round up to the nearest dollar? And I'm just
I'm like, oh, it's only 1 cent.
Yeah. So if it's like a couple pennies, I'm like, sure. But if it's like over 10 cents, I'm like, no.
Nope. No, I'm good. Thanks.
So anyway, so I wanted to do a different story, but actually I'm thinking about maybe after January, I'm going to take this all out, but I'm going to see if Investigator Hansen will come on the show and share the story with us.
Would that be safe for her?
We don't have to say her name. If I can investigate the story, if I can get the story and then get her take on it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
we can even like insert like the voice that goes over it. Or detective.
We'll just get Alice's voice changer.
Have like we're a low budget podcast. This is all we could do. But we'll black you out on the we'll put a shadow over you.
We just put
change
a
the brightness. Please go donate to us on Patreon, guys. We're having
a really great conversation.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, my eyes are watering. Okay. So anyway, so instead I'm going to do this other story, and it hit me in the feels, and you'll see why pretty soon. I'm going to tell you about the North Pole sleigh ride.
Okay.
That was the title of the episode, and I thought of stealing that. So it's actually, I'm going to tell you about. Oh wait, hold on. What did they dub them?
Are you going to cry?
No. I'm going to take that back out. Okay. I'm going to tell you about the North Pole serial killer.
Oh, okay.
So
dark.
Not the North Pole, I should say. I should say North Pole serial killer.
Like North Pole, Alaska.
North Pole, Alaska.
No, I don't want to hear this. I'm scared.
I know. I'll tell you.
Oh man.
It was. I don't know. It hit me in the feels for some reason. Not in the feels like crying.
Yeah,
but
like
too close to home.
You
Too
out.
close to home.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So we all know Brie and I live in North Pole. It is 125 miles from the Arctic Circle. Alaska is famous for the spectacular natural sky phenomena, the Aurora Borealis, also known as the Northern Lights.
I love that we were just talking about what it's like to live here, and
now I'm like,
now you're doing a story on North Pole. That's cool. It's funny.
Many Alaskan natives actually believe in a Many Alaskan natives believe in a folklore that the Northern Lights symbolize those who have fought a violent death.
Oh.
And if it's quiet.
Oh, okay. I thought he said Amy.
Hey, Rick, don't let her open it, please. Because we're getting a lot of stuff from your dad. So many Alaskan natives believe in a folklore that the Northern Lights symbolize those who have fought a violent death. And if it's quiet enough, sometimes you can hear the crackling, similar to like a fire crackling, coming from the lights. And this is to believe that the spirits attempting to communicate with those on Earth.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I've never heard that before. I wish I could see you. Sorry.
So...
Cat butt.
Which I thought was really cool, and just kind of paints a picture for this story.
Oh, cool.
That doesn't it puts a atmosphere onto this story. So it was the summer of 1980, and 11-year-old Doris, I'm gonna butcher her last name, O-Ring, was a typical kid. She was full of energy. She had an older brother and parents. Obviously, like I don't know why I put that in there. She played the trumpet and loved. She loved to sing with her friends. Like she would take turns singing with her friends. On June 13th, 1980, she was riding her bike home from swim lessons, which it was more than likely from Westcott Pool, because that's the only pool here.
Yeah.
And which Alice has taken swim lessons from there. So.
Oh, and more in the fields.
Yeah, more in the fields. So, and she's 11 and riding her bike. I don't know. It just bothered me. So she never arrived home, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
They called her friend's house asking if she was there because she mentioned that she might stop by her friend's house on the way home. And she's like, no, she never came by. Asking, like, do you know where she was? No one knew where she was. And she was initially flagged as a runaway, because that was what you do in the 80s.
That was easy.
Yeah. That afternoon, while doing search for her, the North Pole Police Department and state troopers found Doris's bike along Badger Road.
Oh, no.
Roughly,
oh, man, that's really...
I know.
I don't like this story.
I know. Roughly 20 feet from the road in the bushes.
Oh.
And just to kind of paint a picture for those that don't know what Badger Road is, it's one of the main commute roads from North Pole to Fairbanks.
Yeah, it's like off.
I mean, you either take the freeway or you take Badger Road.
Yeah.
And
like everybody lives off of Badger.
Everyone lives off of Badger, yeah. And I actually talked to a local here that we know. And I asked him, you lived in North Pole in the 80s. What was it like? Was Badger Road busy? And he said, yes, it was still one of the main roads you used. It wasn't as busy as it is now, but it was still pretty busy because we've had dozens of new communities
More
pop up.
military come in.
Yeah. The bike path on Badger was not paved. It was a dirt path, but there was still like really nowhere to pull over unless you like pulled off onto a side road.
Gotcha.
So kind of just paints that picture for everybody. So because of this, finding the bike, the investigators determined that the person that possibly took Doris hid on a side road or a driveway and snatched her while she rode by. A witness later came forward stating that they saw a blue vehicle near where their bike was found. They said that the driver was messing with something in the passenger seat, but they couldn't see what it was.
Okay.
Doris's brother also told police of a strange encounter he had while biking along Badger with his sister the day before she disappeared. The man had a blue car with his hood up, and Doris was ahead of her brother, and so the guy stopped her to talk to her, and then by the time
he scared me.
well, he's going like this. By the time her brother caught up, the guy had, he saw her brother, and so he put the hood down and got in the car and took off. Ugh. So the brother didn't even get to talk to the guy.
But he saw him. That's good.
Yes, he saw him. A composite sketch was created.
I love seeing those.
They all look the same.
They're terrible. Oh my God. What is wrong with you? What did you give your cat? What did you give our son?
Oh, sorry. Oh, I gave him catnip.
Did you really?
No.
It's my boots.
So a composite sketch was created, and it looked like a typical mid-30s, mid-20s guy with a faded haircut and aviator glasses and a mustache. Despite a massive foot, dog, and air search, there was no leads of where Doris could have gone. Her father he found it. This is really sad. So her dad obviously found out right away that she was missing, and he owned a store downtown in Fairbanks, and he came home, and he never went back to work.
Oh.
He shut down his business, and he would sit outside his window and just hope that she would come home. I know. It was so sad.
Oh, I don't blame him.
He believed that, that him being home would bring her home, and it's
what do you do? You can't go and you feel like you need to be
home
doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in an instant, the entire community was held hostage because no one knew where this person was. And, to make things worse, it actually wasn't the first unsolved abduction in that year.
It's the 80s.
Yep. So 8 months earlier, a young boy that was hunting near the gravel pit near the highway 23 miles south of Fairbanks found a decomposing corpse of a young woman.
Sorry.
You're good. She was laying on her bike. I wrote laying on her bike. She was laying on her back, fully clothed with no signs of sexual assault. She had been strangled and shot in the head with a .38 caliber bullet, which they found the casings for near the crime scene.
Okay.
The body belonged to 19-year-old Glenda Sodeman, the daughter of an Alaskan state trooper.
So it wasn't Doris.
It wasn't Doris. No, this was
someone
a
else.
19-year-old girl. Yeah.
Oh man, that's sad. Wow, the state trooper. Jeez.
Yeah.
Ballsy.
So Glenda had just gotten married to a military soldier. He reported her missing roughly 2 months before. So he reported her. He came home. The baby was in the crib, and he's like, "Where are you?"
Had a baby.
Yeah. So obviously the troopers brought the husband in because that's the first suspect always, no matter what. He agreed to take a polygraph test and failed. but there was no way that they could tie him to the case, so they had to let him go. On January 31st, 1981, 20-year-old Marlene Peters was fixing to head down to Anchorage, but the only way she could get there was by hitchhiking. I'm going to take that part out because I tried to find this one bit that I wrote last night, and I couldn't find it because I talk about it later. So I'm going to take that part out. Okay. So 5 weeks later, 16-year-old Wendy Wilson and her friend planned on walking to the Olps residence. Olps. Where did I say BMers?
Pet you.
So, they 5 weeks later, 16-year-old Wendy Wilson and her friend planned to walk to the Olps residence. Olps, the mom, I don't know why I wrote it like this. Olps, her boyfriend's mom. Why did I write it like this?
You can read it over and try to figure it out, or a better way to word it.
Okay, so
I hate when I do that.
5 weeks later, 16-year-old Wendy Wilson and her friend planned to walk to the Olps residence. Wendy had a boyfriend that lived there, the son, and her boyfriend's mom offered to give her a ride, but they declined and decided to walk instead.
Smart.
She started...
walking all the way to Anchorage?
No.
Walking to... Okay, that's right.
She's walking to her boyfriend's house.
Okay.
So, if you want... it's cooler to walk.
Yeah, you don't have to be around, grown-ups.
Yeah.
But, so... bears and moose.
That's true.
I'm so scared to go outside here.
I know, me too. So, however, at the last minute, her friend decided to walk home instead, so they parted ways. A white truck passed her friend and went straight up to Wendy. And Wendy's friend turned around and saw the truck stop. And Wendy was talking to the person in the truck. And that was the last time that Wendy was seen.
Okay.
Wendy's body was found 3 days later. She was fully clothed and was strangled and shot in the head.
Same thing as the state trooper.
Yep. He is being such a butthead.
I don't know. He's attacking me every few... I'm not even doing anything and he keeps on attacking me.
He wants you to play. He's like, you always want me to play with you.
I'm here.
I'm here. The troopers were hung up on the 2 discrepancies in the 3 cases that we've had so far. So we have Doris's, we have the state troopers, and we have...
all the things that match.
The things that don't match. Oh my god. I wish the camera could catch this.
There you go. You got what you wanted. You're the star.
They were hung up on 2 discrepancies in the 3 cases between Doris, Wendy, and the vehicles were not the same. So we have a blue car and a white truck now.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. That's a big difference.
So they're like, are they connected? But they were worried that there was actually multiple murderers. So the troopers put every male in the Fairbanks North Star Borough on the suspect list. They then...
Every male?
Every male.
Oh my gosh.
And then they eliminated the very young and the very old, because we know that's a guy in his mid-something.
Right.
So that left them with 15,000 possibilities.
Jeez.
Then the body of 21-year-old Marlene Peters was found near Eielson Air Force Base. She was strangled and shot in the head with a 16-gauge shotgun, which is...
so she was strangled and shot?
Yeah. And Eielson is roughly a 10-minute drive, depending on how fast you drive, from North Pole. Marlene wanted to go down to Anchorage to see her father, who was sick with cancer. She had no way to get down there, so she decided, what everyone else did in the 70s and 80s and hitchhike.
Oh, of course.
She was last seen in Fairbanks preparing to make the trip down there. No one saw her get into the vehicle. So, yeah, I'm so sorry. This is a heavy one. 2 days later, another young woman was picked up while hitchhiking. She
Stop.
See, why do I like wrote stuff and then I went back. You learn more stuff, so then you go back and add more stuff to.
Oh yeah. That's okay.
Take that out, Amy. No one saw her get into a vehicle. That's the last part we talked about. Okay. So the police teamed up with Fort Wainwright, Eielson Air Force Base, North Pole Police, and Fairbanks Police Department in hopes to find this person and hopefully find Doris alive, because they still haven't found her body.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I thought he saw my earrings.
He's like, no, I see them now. What you got there, Mom?
They narrow in on Glinda Soderman's husband, though. Oh my gosh, Tony.
He wants to see your earrings.
Do you want to see my earrings? Do you want to see them? This is a good episode for Patreon. He's being such a butt.
If you like cats, join Patreon.
Your butt is dirty.
Watch the most douchey cat. And also so handsome.
And he's on my papers.
Tony, stop. Is he not in here? Did he leave? He must have left.
No, he's under you.
Oh, hi, baby.
So they narrow in on Glinda Soderman's husband because he was still considered a suspect in the death of the state trooper's daughter. He took another polygraph test and it came back inconclusive, so they had to release him again.
See, that's I feel like I would fail a polygraph test too, because they can mess up if you're nervous, right?
Yeah.
I would just be nervous naturally.
Just be nervous. Yes,
and
exactly.
I would be so afraid to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
But then again, they're typically right.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times they're right. Let me just say that.
I watched Meet the Parents last night.
Oh, I love that movie.
It was so funny. I was like, I haven't seen this one in a long time. That poor guy.
That's a good movie. You lying to me, fucker? Or yeah.
Okay. That September, 2 military army men were out rabbit hunting when they found the girl that was the fifth 18-year-old, when they found the girl that was the fifth, why did I type it like this? That September, 2 military army men were out rabbit hunting. They found a girl, 18-year-old Lori King, not far from where the other bodies were found. She was strangled and shot.
Ugh. Wait. So Doris hasn't been found yet, right?
Doris still hasn't been found.
Okay.
But they're finding all these other ones in between North Pole and Eielson.
Not a good sign, but her body has not been found yet, so.
Yeah. Yep. So the troopers decide to stake out that stretch between North Pole and Eielson, because that seems to be where his dumping grounds were.
Right.
They sat there for days on end, tracking anyone's movements and, trying to match a vehicle description. And they still just couldn't find anything. Those two vehicles were able to stay under the radar. The investigation was beyond frustrating because they didn't spot any white... Oh, I just basically said that. So investigator Sam Bernard was like, I've had enough. I'm going to fly out to Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm going to study the police procedure for the massive manhunt and capture of the Atlanta child murders, because right at that time there was another serial killer in Atlanta that was preying on young black boys.
Oh no.
So he came back with something to help with the case. In Anchorage, they had to make this ginormous computer that would allow the local troopers, the police, and investigators to enter all the lead information into the statewide database. So before this, everything's by paper and word of mouth.
Of course, that doesn't surprise me though.
Yeah,
because
we're so behind.
But also is in the 80s, so
yeah. So now they were able to enter any leads into this database, and anyone can access it. Anyone can enter
and
leads.
They can like match up.
Yes,
right.
They also turned to the FBI for help and used the behavior specialist analyst. They also turned to the FBI for help and used the behavior specialist analyst to help them. The FBI profile came back with a single man, lives alone, and can't hold down a job. Although the FBI said that they can't hold down a job, the investigators couldn't overlook the fact that the description given was that he had a military haircut.
Okay.
So they're like, we can't rule out with two bases here. We cannot rule out. Right. He might not be able to hold down a job in like everyday basis, but if you're in the military,
you have your job regardless.
Yeah.
Unless you do something absolutely terrible like murder people.
Yeah. Yeah. So they included the military in their search. They asked Glenda Soderman's husband to come back in another time because he's in the military.
Oh my gosh.
For a third polygraph test. And this time they had like a polygraph expert come in and do it instead of themselves or something. And the guy, a few minutes later, the guy came out of the room and he was like, he can't take a polygraph test. This guy has a heart murmur. It's always going to come back as inconclusive.
Okay.
So how awful. I mean, good for him for like sticking with it and being compliant.
Sure he wants to find who murdered his wife.
Yeah, but still like.
And then also prove that he's not the murderer.
Yeah. How embarrassing though.
How embarrassing for the person doing the original polygraphs. Like, isn't that something you should ask beforehand?
Do you have a heart murmur?
Yeah.
So it is also Alaska. Months went by without any new leads. They assumed that the killer either died or left the state because there were so many murders within a short amount of time. So they're like, this is very odd behavior for them. So they started to search the lower 48 to see if there were any other connections. First, they asked the guards at Eielson to give them a list of all the military men that would have had a vehicle that would match the suspects going in and out of Eielson.
Okay.
The Air Force came back with a list of 587 military personnel that had a vehicle matching those descriptions.
You don't realize how many people work for the military, right?
Yeah. It's not just Air Force men.
Yeah.
It's the people working at the PX.
Yeah.
It's
so many.
So many people. They also gave them a list of anyone that may have PCS'd. Bree, what does PCS'd mean?
Moved here from another place.
Or out.
Or out, yeah.
After the fifth victim was discovered on September 1981. Why'd you look like you're on trial when I asked you?
Because I was stressed out about it. That's why I wouldn't do good in a polygraph test. What'd you have for breakfast this morning? Eggs. No. Cereal, I think. I didn't have breakfast.
Is it lame to have cereal? I didn't have cereal.
Coffee.
I had. If it was Alice, she'd be like, I didn't have breakfast because she woke up at noon. Well, it's still kind of breakfast.
Yeah, lunch, brunch.
Yeah. So, November 1982, over a year since the last suspect was found dead in Alaska, the investigators got a call from North Texas. A woman was found dead. She was strangled and shot in the head. So, investigator Barnstein, I almost said. So, investigator Bernard flies down to Hernita, Texas. The state trooper told Barnstein they already found the guy. And
what?
And Bernard was so excited. He's like, what? How? Like, tell me. Like, we've been on this guy for, years now.
Yeah.
How'd you get him? And the trooper's like, well, the girl had a boyfriend that was a meth dealer and cooked meth out of the trailer. He ended up blowing up the trailer and himself, so they assumed it was him. Case closed. Done.
Oh, okay, cool, because that's how it should work. No.
Yeah, no. So Bernard was like, okay, that's not, whatever. You guys do what you guys need to do. But he was
know
like,
what you're doing.
I don't believe that was a guy. And so he's like still on the
Why would a
look.
meth dealer be like,
let me kill you
up?
first.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Texas Air Force sent the Alaska State Troopers a list of all the airmen that had recently transferred from Eielson in the last year. And one name stood out among the rest. Thomas Richard Bundy, which is very close to Bundy.
Yeah, it is.
I kept writing Bundy.
Yeah.
Records indicated Thomas was a technical sergeant, which I don't really know what that is. I didn't look into it.
E6.
Okay. Yeah, but what's a technical
Tech.
sergeant?
Just a tech sergeant.
Okay.
That's what Josh is.
Oh.
Tech sergeant.
Oh, so it's not at his MOS.
I don't know what that means. See?
Oh,
different branches. It's a ranking.
Oh, it's just a ranking. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Like MOS is like their job duty
Oh,
title.
yeah, no. This is a rank.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was a technical sergeant that had transferred Shepherd's Air Force Base. Records indicated Thomas was a technical sergeant that transferred to Shepherd Air Force Base near Wichita, Texas, shortly after the fifth victim was found.
Okay.
They discovered Thomas owned a blue car and a white truck. The name popped out because at Eielson, Thomas had a long list of complaints against him for sexual harassment.
Oh.
So they're like, that guy looks
interesting.
That guy looks interesting. There was one thing that didn't add up, though. Thomas didn't match the FBI profile. They said that he would be single. Thomas was a devoted husband with 2 children. So
you never know.
It doesn't always work. So Trooper Bernard goes to Thomas's house in Texas to question him, and Thomas was compliant to answer questions, but refused to take a lie detector test or give a DNA sample, which I thought was interesting. So Bernard's like, all right, I got to go back to Alaska. They asked Doris's brother, who saw the suspect before his sister was abducted, if the picture of Thomas was the same guy he saw, and he was like, yes, that is the same guy.
Okay.
So Bernard and another trooper get a cheap hotel near Thomas's house in Texas and make up a bogus stakeout room to make it look like they've been on to him for months.
Okay.
Like there was like pictures and like a map and like very interesting.
Why?
You'll see.
Okay.
Thomas agrees to come and talk with them. And so this is why. So because they're
bluffing.
Yeah, they're bluffing him. They spend days on end questioning him, but they did never mention the murder at first, or any of the murders. They were convinced so just to get to know him is what they were doing, and he was just like all about talking about himself. He loved talking about himself. Then after a couple days, they started talking about the case, not like saying you did this, but they were like convincing him that they knew who did it,
right?
In a sense, but never naming a name. And he also never confessed or denied anything. He just listened to them talk. And after a week of interrogation, Thomas showed up and handed Bernard a note and left. And it said, "Dear Jim and Chris, I've really enjoyed talking with you these past few days, but you said I did these things, but I didn't." And they're like, okay, this isn't like saying you didn't steal the ketchup from Denny's. This is saying like, this is
you committed murder.
Yeah. And so they're like, this is the worst denial we've ever seen. So troopers managed to get a search warrant of the house, hoping to find souvenirs of some sort. They found things like similar ammunition that was used in the killings and a newspaper clipping about the profile the FBI came up with. When they found the clipping, Bernard called Thomas over and he's like, "What the heck is this?" And Thomas is like, "Oh, yeah, that's, it's a souvenir." And he's like, "Really? Really?" And Thomas was like, "Well, not that type of souvenir. Just a souvenir to remember, like, about Fairbanks."
Like, that particular,
That
like,
one
that's what you want to remember?
He probably
I mean, I get, like, you like true crime and stuff like that, but, like, that's a little dark to be, like, remembering the place where you lived.
That's
like,
when
we have the
most
Aurora
people,
Borealis here.
Most people go down to the souvenir shops.
Yeah, we had the North Pole. You can go sit on Santa's lap. Although I don't know if he should do that.
But maybe a newspaper clipping of a FBI profile. That sounds normal.
Yeah.
It's super good.
Definitely.
Super good. Chill.
Totally get that.
But I just realized that why he chose that clipping, because it wasn't the same. It wasn't the profile. Like, it wasn't the right profile.
Okay.
So kind of like a bragging, like, haha, they don't actually know who it is. I just realized that that's probably why he picked that one.
Yeah.
All right. So,
especially since he, like, talked about himself a lot.
Yeah. So before they could arrest Thomas, they had to get an arrest warrant from Alaska, and it wasn't like you could just punch it into a computer then. I don't know how they filed it, but it took a while.
Plus, it was out of state, so I'm sure they have to deal with stuff like that.
Yep, exactly. So the following night, Thomas called the Alaska State Troopers and told them, "I can't find my car keys. I think you might have taken it with all the other stuff that you took from my house." And they're like, probably not.
Okay.
But all right.
It's kind of easy to see.
Yeah. So McCain, the other trooper that was down there, said, "I'll get dressed and bring them to you." And Thomas was like, "Oh, no biggie. I'm supposed to see you in the morning." And McCain was like, "Yep, sure are." He's like, "I don't."
Okay, we don't have anything scheduled, but sure, come on over and
Come
tell
on
me
down.
more.
He's like, "You're right. We are supposed to see you in the morning."
Eating out of my palm.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "Come down here at 0900. But during the talk, Trooper McCain said, "We just really want to resolve these series of crimes. It doesn't matter who did it. It just matters why. And I know it wasn't just 5 girls," calling his bluff.
Okay.
And Thomas was like, "Yeah, you're right. It wasn't. There was more." And so he basically just confessed.
Yeah.
So they hang up, and Thomas showed up the next morning. They asked him where Doris was. They're like, "We just want Doris's family to have some closure, be able to cry and pray over her body." And Thomas started crying, and he promises to go back to North Pole to show the troopers where he put Doris's body.
Oh.
They were worried, though, because they had no authorization to just arrest him in Texas without, what is that called? Extradited arrest warrant. And so they had to cross their fingers that they were able to he would go willingly on a plane, and then when they get to Seattle, he doesn't decide to go to, like, Disneyland.
Right.
And just go. So, because they don't have any authorization to arrest him.
Right.
So that's what they were hoping for. But at the last minute, the governor of Alaska offered the troopers a private jet to fly him straight to Fairbanks. So,
how does the governor afford a private jet?
Well, you have, in order to get an extradited arrest, you have to get the governor to sign off on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he basically that was his approval.
That was his approval.
He's like, go get him.
Go get him. Yeah. So the Texas officers that were watching the house. Oh, sorry, I skipped a spot. So the next morning comes, and Thomas never showed up. Shocker.
Yeah.
Which actually, it did surprise the troopers.
Because he was so willing to,
they're like, this
information.
Is the first time he didn't show up.
Yeah.
The Texas officers watching the house said that he may have slipped by their view on his motorcycle. Then McCain got a call at the hotel. The officers told the Alaska investigators that Thomas dropped his taxes off to an H&R Block. Just, okay. Honey, will you do this on the way out? He's like, God damn it. Yes.
This is actual life, guys. People have to actually go pee in stories.
Then he drove his motorcycle roughly 40 miles north of town, then turned around and drove 100 miles an hour across the center line and slammed straight into a semi-truck. He obviously died.
Yeah.
The driver of the semi-truck survived, though, thankfully.
Yeah, he did.
So to verify that this was the right guy and not just, another
decoy.
Or lead.
Just a person.
Yeah, they were able to match his hairs found on Wendy that matched Thomas, and the ammo found in his own home matched the ammo found at a few of the crime scenes. On August 1986, Doris's skull was found near Eielson Air Force Base.
6 years later.
Yep. The troopers also learned that because of the job he was able to have the opportunity. The troopers also learned that because of the job that he was able to put up surveillance cameras in where his dumping grounds were, so he could go back and relive the murders and also watch the troopers while they were doing their investigations.
Oh my gosh.
And that's
sick.
Yeah, that's the story of the North Pole serial killer.
Oh my god. Well, what was his garbage name? Bundy?
Thomas Richard, which he went by Richard. Thomas Richard Bundy.
Jeez, that's crazy. That's wild how close their names are.
Yeah.
Man, that's so sad.
I know.
And you coward.
Yeah.
You freaking committed suicide instead of just giving your time. You didn't even say sorry to any of the families.
Nope.
What a piece of garbage.
It makes me really sad for the victims' families.
Yeah.
And for his wife.
Yeah.
She had no idea.
I know. At least he dropped off the taxes. But
I mean,
did that. But yeah, I know. I can't even imagine their. And that one poor guy who kept on getting taken in.
I know.
He's like, I'm just trying to be a single dad right now. I just want to know who killed my wife.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah. So it hit home because of reading like the street lights or the street names and stuff like that. That
You're
was
like, oh wow, I know exactly where that is. That's terrifying.
Yeah, and so I had to download and sign up for another subscription in order to watch the documentary on it. Because I like to research it and then watch a documentary if there's one out there.
Gets you like more motivated, if anything.
Yeah, and there was like videos of North Pole and like you saw McDonald's and it was so weird.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about this murder and I was like, oh.
Heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Our kids play here.
Yeah.
My child trying to run away from me here.
Yes, exactly. Like they showed Santa Claus house and I'm like, oh my God, that picture right there, Rick and Alice stood right there and I took a picture.
Oh man. Oh, that's.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're. Oh wait, everywhere's like this, so it doesn't matter. There's serial killers
yes,
everywhere.
Exactly.
Especially in the 80s, though. They were so big then.
Yeah, I swear we have a serial killer out right now. I think I've told you that
You've
before.
told me that since we started the podcast, and I think you're right because there's always deaths around us.
Yeah, and it's always.
I feel like they just don't want to like in the 80s, they probably would be like, "Oh, serial killer, nighttime curfew, blah blah blah." But like nowadays, they don't want to like panic anybody. So it's just like, oh, another day, another death.
Oh, no big deal.
No bigger.
They're all
nothing to do
male
here.
Alaska natives, and they go missing. It's weird.
Like deaths? Oh, I know.
No, they go missing.
But I know a lot of women get snatched up too, though, and kids. There's a ton of sex traffickers here, I think.
I was talking to our investigator, and she's like, "There's more. This is a high place for sex trafficking."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I believe it. Have you seen all the posts on Facebook of like people in Walmart or something taking pictures of other? And like, there's nothing you can do about it because you're in a public place, and that's not illegal to take a picture of someone else's kid. But you better believe if someone was taking a picture of my kid,
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, 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 no. You need to take that shit off your phone. I'll
really,
throw it on the ground.
It's just really creepy. She was like, you guys like need to be safe.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be safer. And I was like, I thought we were safe. And she's like,
that's why, like, it's not even necessarily like that safe that I do those air tags, but that's why I put those air tags on them. Like, mainly I make them wear them whenever I'm by myself and it's just me and the girls. And anytime we go to a store, the rule is they're not allowed to get out of the buggy. They have to sit inside the buggy, and I always have a hand on the cart. Never look away from them. That's terrifying that just happens in broad daylight.
Yeah.
All the time.
And
like, always have your keys when you're walking out the store. Have them out and ready to go, so if you need to stab someone.
So here's the thing.
And get in your car quickly.
Yes. Sorry. Here's the thing is that I know that the place that we came from was very scary.
Yeah.
And so moving up here, I was like, wow, my kid can like nothing is bad compared to where we came from.
But it's a small town.
And so I was always like loose about stuff. Like if she wanted to go check out the toy section, and she was older now. She's older now. So I'm like, yeah, go ahead. I'm just a couple rows over. But ever since our investigator told us that, last week, she's like, no, it's a real thing here. And I have arrested people for it. And I'm like I guess was naive to it, and it scared.
Well, I mean, we did stuff like that as kids.
Yeah.
And we were fine, but I'm sure I know sex trafficking was a thing then. It may have not been as big, but or maybe not necessarily where we lived.
Or people weren't aware of it.
Yeah. But now it's like it's so huge.
It's such a big thing. She said this is a huge
market. I don't know. Market?
Yeah, I don't know what she called it. She said something like a highway of it, or like this is a big highway for it.
And then they can go to Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly
so freaking scary. I never even thought about that until like right now.
Yeah, so I was like,
that makes so much sense.
No, Alice, you cannot go to the toy section. Sorry,
we'll go there next.
You can stay with me.
Yeah, yeah, that's scary. Hold your babies close, guys.
I know.
Not everywhere is sunshine and rainbows.
Can you tell me something good?
No.
Oh.
It's not necessarily something really bad, though. So, I am continuing the saga of telling scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago.
It's the most terrifying time of the year.
I have a game for Tony. Hold on.
Where's he at?
Tony.
Oh, he likes that fly game.
Oh, yeah, I downloaded it because I was like, if he comes back over here, I'll just put it over here to keep him busy. Like a flippin' toddler. Like, I'm turning on Cocomelon for him.
Come here.
Oh, they're all locked.
Do you want to play? Can you meow for the... Say meow. Meow, meow.
At least he meows.
It's because I'm squeezing.
Because he's mad. Psst. Kitty, kitty.
He loves this game.
Oh, our ads. Do you want to do this again like
yes.
that? Okay. All right. So, to follow us, we are on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and Facebook. We also have a Facebook group that you can join and become a part of the neighborhood. Just search for our handle at WWTN Podcast. And Tony is eating my phone, which you can see on our Patreon, which Amy's going to mention in a minute. Subscribe to our show on our website, what'swiththeneighbors.com, where you can find all of what I just mentioned, along with our merch, which is available for purchase.
And on there, you can also find a link to our Patreon, which to be on the donor list, that is at patreon.com, WWTN Podcast at patreon.com/WWTN Podcast for $5 a month, you can get our unedited video episodes early and exclusive content. And for $3 a month, you can get our audio episodes early, exclusive content, and both tiers offer a free WWTN Podcast magnet. Also, I just want to say, if you want to see our Christmas special, it will be only on Patreon. So you can only get it if you are a Patreon donor. Feel free to slide into our DMs with any questions, comments, or story suggestions. We are always accepting your personal true crime, paranormal, and neighborhood stories for our occasional listener story episodes. You can send that to wwtnpodcast@gmail.com. Bree, tell me a story.
Okie dokie. Here, chase the mouse. Okay. So, this spooky holiday season, I am telling fictional stories. And I got this book just for this. I wasn't going to read a story out of it, but I changed my mind. And also, I can't get people to reply to me to give me
People are rude.
Permission to read their stories. So I have another one just in case. So for next week. So I got this book. It's called Ghosts of Christmas Past.
Oh.
Christmas Past. And this particular story that I'm going to be reading out of it is by, you can purchase it on Amazon, and it is by blah 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 blah. That's who it's by. It's by blah blah blah.
Oh.
It's by L.P. Hartley. It's called Someone in the Lift.
This is the story called
Someone in the Lift.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a book full of like different stories by different authors.
Oh.
So, there's someone coming down in the lift, mummy. It says mummy instead of mommy.
Mummy.
This must be English. No, my darling, you're wrong. That isn't. Sorry, I'll stop.
Yes, thank you.
But I can see them through the bars, a tall gentleman. You think you can, but it's only a shadow. Now, you'll see the lift's empty. And it always was. This piece of dialogue, or variations of it, had been repeated at intervals ever since Mr. and Mrs. Maldon and their son Peter had arrived at the Brompton Court Hotel, where, owing to a domestic crisis, they were going to spend Christmas.
Oh.
Hold on, I need to get in a better position. This is weird reading a book. New to hotel life, the little boy had never seen a lift before, and he was fascinated by it, like what kid wouldn't be?
Right.
When either of his parents pressed the button to summon it, he would take up his stand some distance away to watch it coming down. The ground floor had a high ceiling, so the lift was visible for some seconds before it touched floor level, and it was then, at its first appearance, that Peter saw the figure. It was always in the same place, facing him in the left-hand corner. He couldn't see it plainly, of course, because of the double grill, the gate of the lift, and the gate of the lift shaft, both of which had to be firmly closed before the lift would work. So it had like little gates.
Okay.
He had been told not to use the lift by himself, an unnecessary warning. Because he connected the lift with the things that grown-ups people did, and unlike most small boys, he wasn't over anxious to share the privileges of his elders. He was content to wonder and admire. The lift appealed to him more as a magic than a mechanism. Acceptance of magic made it possible for him to believe that the lift had an occupant when he first saw it, in spite of the demonstrable fact that when it came to rest, giving its fascinating click of finality, the occupant had disappeared. If you don't believe me, ask Daddy, his mother said.
So this is like a ghost that he's seeing.
It's a figure.
A figure.
We're just gonna say it's like a shadow in the lift that he keeps on seeing. But as soon as it's there and down and stopped like in place, it goes away.
Okay.
Oh, you have another one? He has two to occupy him. So, if you don't believe me, ask Daddy, his mother said. Peter didn't want to do this, and for two reasons, one of which was easier to explain than the other.
Sure.
Daddy would say, "I was being silly," he said.
"You're so silly.
You're so silly. That's not true. There's no one in there.
There's no ghost."
Oh, no, he wouldn't. He never says you're silly. This was not quite true. Like all well-regulated modern fathers, Mr. Maldon was aware of the danger of offending a son of tender years. The psychological result might be regrettable. But no Frood. I don't know what that means.
That's a very woke dad, to be honest.
Yeah, like understanding, like, I'm going to be sensitive to him.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I agree. But Frood or no Frood, fathers are still fathers, and sometimes when Peter irritated him, Mr. Maldon would let fly. Although he was fond of him, Peter's private vision of his father was of someone more authoritative and awe-inspiring than a stranger seeing them together would have guessed. The other reason, which Peter didn't divulge, was more fantastic. He hadn't asked his father because when his father was with him, he couldn't see the figure in the lift. Miss Maldon remembered the conversation and told her husband of it. "The lift's in a dark place," she said, "and I dare say he does see something. He's so much nearer to the ground than we are. The bars must cast a shadow and make a sort of pattern that we can't see." Makes sense. Tony's having so much fun. Again, guys, Patreon will pay off. Oh, hold on. So we have two phones out, guys, with cat toys on them.
And then there's Leon asking for kisses.
So yeah, watch Patreon to watch cats.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's babies. He's being such a big baby. Okay, where am I at? Okay, so bars might cast a shadow. The kid might see them at his angle more, and so yeah, that sounds like a logical explanation, especially from an adult.
Right.
Very logical. Gosh. Double trouble. At first, Peter was more interested than frightened. Then he began to evolve a theory. If the figure only appeared in his father's absence, didn't it follow that the figure might be his own father?
What?
In what region of his conscience Peter believed this, it would be hard to say, but for imaginative purposes, he did believe it, and the figure became for him Daddy in the lift. The thought of Daddy in the lift did frighten him, and the neighborhood of the lift shaft,
But why would... I don't know. It just... Why would that scare him, though?
Because maybe it's another Daddy. I don't know.
Weird.
It's creepy. That would scare me.
Yeah.
In which he felt compelled to hang about, became a place of dread. Christmas Day was drawing near, and the hotel began to deck itself with evergreens. Suspended at the foot of the staircase in front of the lift was a bunch of mistletoe, and it was this that gave Mr. Maldon his idea. As they were standing under it, waiting for the lift, he said to Peter, "Your mother tells me you've seen someone in the lift who isn't there." Like, automatically says he isn't there. His voice sounded more accusing than he meant it to, and Peter shrank.
Oh.
"Oh, not now," he said. Truthfully enough. He said truthfully enough. "Only sometimes. Your mother told me that you always saw it," his father said, again more sternly than he meant to. "And do you know who I think it might be?" Caught by a gust of terror, Peter cried, "Oh, please don't tell me."
Oh.
"Why, you silly boy," said the father reasonably. "Don't you want to know?" Ashamed of his cowardice, Peter said he did. "Why, it's Father Christmas, of course." Relief surged through Peter. "But doesn't Father Christmas come down the chimney?" he asked. That was the old days. He does it now. Now he takes the lift. It's super cute. Peter thought a moment. Will you dress up as Father Christmas this year? He asked, even though it's a hotel. I might, and come down the lift. I shouldn't wonder. After this, Peter felt happier about the shadowy passenger behind the bars. Father Christmas couldn't hurt anyone if he was, as Peter now believed him to be, his own father. Peter was only 6, but he could remember 2 Christmas Eves when his father had dressed up as Santa Claus and given him a delicious thrill.
Delicious what?
Delicious thrill. I love the rating. So I like their way they word things sometimes.
Yeah.
I didn't know thrills could be delicious. Tastes like candy canes.
The delicious flavored candy cane.
Candy cane flavored thrill.
Candy cane flavored thrill. That's
it's a new taste by Jolly Rancher or something. Yeah. It's a new jelly bean flavor. He could hardly wait for this one, when the apparition in the corner would last become a reality. Alas, 2 days before Christmas Day, the lift broke down.
Oh.
On every floor it served, and there were 5, 6 counting the basement, the forbidding notice, out of order, dangled from the door handle. Peter complained as loudly as anyone, though secretly he couldn't have told why. He was glad that the lift no longer functioned.
Peter's the son?
Yes.
Okay.
He was glad that the lift no longer functioned, and he didn't mind climbing the 4 flights of stairs to his room, which opened out of his parents' room, but had its own door too. By using the stairs, he met the workmen. He never knew on which floor they would be, and from them gleaned the latest news about the lift crisis. They were working overtime, they told him, and were just as anxious as he to see the last of the job. So they were like, we're ready for this to be over with. Let's fix this crap.
So boring.
It's Christmas, we need to hurry.
Yeah, dude.
Sometimes they even told each other to put a jerk into it. I don't know what that means.
Me
always,
either.
Peter asked them when they would be finished, and they always answered Christmas Eve at the latest. Peter didn't doubt this. To him, the workmen were infallible, possessed of magic powers, capable of suspending the ordinary laws that govern lifts.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's a little kid. He's so cute. I love his way of thinking. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like a kid. Look how they left the gates open and shouted to. Blah, where am I at? Look how they left the gates open and shouted to each other up and down the awesome lift shaft, paying as little attention to the other hotel visitors as if they didn't exist. Only to Peter did they vouchsafe a word. But Christmas Eve came. The morning passed. The afternoon passed. And still the lift didn't go. The men were working with set faces and a controlled hurry in their movements. They didn't even return Peter's good night.
Yeah, they're probably ticked off.
They're like, we're ready to get home to our families.
Yeah, what the
Kid,
heck?
this is a stupid lift. I can't believe that these hotel people are so petty that they're making us work on this lift.
Yeah.
Like, y'all can't go down some stairs to go enjoy your Christmas meal.
No. must complete lift.
Must complete the top of list. When he passed, didn't even return Peter's good night when he passed him on his way to bed. He had begged to be allowed to stay up this once for dinner. He knew he wouldn't go to sleep, he said, till Father Christmas came. He lay awake listening to the urgent voices of the men, wondering if each hammer stroke would be the last, and then just as the clamor was subsiding, he dropped off. Dreaming, he felt adrift in time. Could it be midnight? No, because his parents had, after all, consented to his going down to dinner. Now was the time. Averting his eyes from the forbidden lift, he stole downstairs. There was a clock in the hall, but it had stopped. In the dining room, there was another clock, but dared he go into the dining room alone, with no one to guide him and everybody looking at him? He ventured in, and there at the table, which he couldn't always pick out, he saw his mother. She saw him too, and came towards him, threading her way between the tables as if they were just bits of furniture, not alien islands under the hostile sway.
This is his dream?
No, he's awake.
He's awake now. Okay.
Yeah, he just woke up late. He wasn't supposed to fall asleep, I don't think.
Oh.
Darling, she said, I couldn't find you. Nobody could. But here you are. She led him back, and they sat down. Daddy will be with us in a minute. The minutes passed. Suddenly, there was a crash. It seemed to come from within the kitchen, from the kitchen, perhaps. Smiles lit up the faces of the diners. A man at the nearby table laughed and said, Something's on the floor. Somebody'll be for it. What is it? Whispered Petey. Petey.
I like Petey more.
I like Petey. Too excited to speak out loud. Is anyone hurt? Oh, no, darling. Somebody's dropped a tray, that's all. To Peter, it seemed an anticlimax, this paltry accident that had stolen the thunder of his father's entry, for he didn't doubt that his father would come in as Father Christmas.
Aww.
The suspense was unbearable. Can I go into the hall and wait for him? His mother hesitated and then said yes. The hall was deserted. Even the porter was off duty. Would it be fair, Peter wondered, or would it be cheating and doing himself out of a surprise if he waited for Father Christmas by the lift? Magic has its rules which mustn't be disobeyed.
Mm-hmm.
But he was there now, and his old place in front of the lift, and the lift would come down if he pressed the button. He knew he mustn't, that it was forbidden, that his father would be angry if he did. Yet he reached up and pressed it.
Oh, naughty.
He thought of his consequences, and he did it anyway. So, Peter, come on now. Such a Petey. But nothing happened. The lift didn't come. And why? Because some careless person had forgotten to shut the gates. Monkeying with the lift, his father called it. Perhaps the workmen had forgotten in their hurry to get home. Yeah. There was only one thing to do. Find out which floor the gates had been left open and then shut them. On their own floor, it was. And in his dream, it didn't seem strange. Oh, it is his dream.
Oh.
I was confused. Okay, this makes more sense. This makes so much more sense. I read this earlier, and Natalie must have interrupted me or something, or one of my children.
Yeah.
So on their own floor, it was, and in his dream, it didn't seem strange to Peter that the lift wasn't there, blocking the black hole of the lift shaft, though he didn't dare look down it. The gates clicked to. Triumph possessed him. Triumph lent him his wings. He was back on the ground floor with his finger on the button. Okay, this all makes so much more sense. Oh my gosh. I'd spaced out for a paragraph earlier. A thrill of power such as he had never known ran through him when the machinery answered his touch. It's because he's thinking about this dang lift so much.
Mm-hmm.
But what was this? The lift was coming from below, not down from above. There was something wrong with its roof, a jagged hole that let the light through, but the figure was there in its accustomed corner, and this time it hadn't disappeared. It was still there. He could see it through the mazy crisscross. What was that?
The flies.
Oh. He could see it through the mazy crisscross of the bars, a figure in a red robe with white furry edges and wearing a red cowl on its head.
A red cow?
Cowl.
Cowl.
C-O-W-L. I think it's like a fur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His father Christmas, Father Christmas, Daddy in the lift. But why didn't he look at Peter? And why was his white beard streaked with red?
Oh.
The two grills folded back when Peter pushed them.
Ew, that's gross.
Toys were lying at his father's feet, but he couldn't touch them for they were too red and wet as the floor of the lift, red as the jag of lightning that tore through his brain.
What?
That's it. The end. It just left you hanging.
Yeah.
All these stories in this book leave you hanging, and I'm like, what? You're just left to wonder. It sounds like something covered in blood came up the lift.
That's what I'm thinking. I was thinking like Father Christmas like ate something.
Yeah, I was thinking Father Christmas killed something. I don't know. And there was a hole in the top of it. I don't know. But that made so much more sense now that I realized that he was dreaming. Because earlier, I was like, how did he like fly? How did he go from one floor to the next with like wings? Why, this kid has quite an imagination. But like now, it's like I just read it for the first time. But I read it twice earlier. But I guess I just didn't catch on to those parts.
Well, they said like he begged to stay up.
Yeah, and then he fell asleep.
Dinner. Yeah, but my thought was, why isn't this boy going to dinner? Why can't he go to dinner?
Right. Like, you're gonna put your kid to bed at 5:00.
Yeah,
and then I was like, oh, you guys gonna eat dinner at midnight? Like, is that normal?
I have no idea.
That was Someone's in the Lift in the Ghosts of Christmas Past. Again, you guys can purchase it on Amazon. And that particular story is by L.P. Hartley. So it's just a book full of a bunch of short Christmas spooky stories.
I like it.
Kind of give, like, they're not, like, quite terrifying, but, you know, they're just a little bit of chill in the air.
Yeah, I like it. I can't read my neighborhood story. I'm sorry.
You're good. Do you want me to hold it up for you? Oh my God, I'll hold it up for you.
I just need.
Oh my God, are you asking me to marry you?
Oh, this is awkward. That was for Leon. Yeah. Thank you. That's all. Yeah. Okay, so this is from next door, and it's titled Charging Your Cell Phone on My Christmas Lights. Whoever is charging their cell phone on my open outlet of my Christmas display, nice trying to hide it in the sleigh. I removed it. So just let me know when you want it in the charger bag. Pictured is the area, but didn't want to shame the phone. I hope you liked the decorations enough to eyeball the open outlet. If you need help, let us know.
Let us know. That is such a modern day problem.
Yeah, but also, why are you charging your phone on someone's decorations? Just go home and charge it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like maybe they're homeless.
They could be.
Yeah, because a lot of homeless people have phones still.
Yeah, or like I picture like what I call them, the neighborhood rugrats or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember
what I call them. A bunch of hoodlum kids.
The hoodlum kids, yeah. They're just out playing.
Literally me growing up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to go charge my phone on their Christmas lights and talk about it for the next 2 years. Oh, yeah, you know, I can charge my phone on Christmas lights. So, I'm such a badass. Break all they wrote a note about me on Facebook and everything. Why am I talking like that?
I don't know. Is that how you used to talk?
Being a little bit ghetto.
Oh my gosh, Brie, that's so embarrassing.
It was like Southern ghetto though. I know. I'm not proud, okay?
You shouldn't be. I went and scratched my cheek and Leon squealed. He went,
"Aw, he looks like a little ball right now. He looks like a big ball." He's getting so big still. Like I can't believe he's like still growing.
Are we talking about you? Is your eyes open? Do you want to say goodbye to everybody? He went. We gotta record our Christmas special that you can find on Patreon.
We're gonna go be doing some fun kind of activity, which you guys can watch. So it might be a disaster.
Yeah. Say hi to your cats for us. Meow.
You could totally just insert Tony's laugh or meow.
Meow. I've tried to get Leon's purring. I don't know if you can hear it or not though. He was purring very silently.
I like your glass.
Thank you. It is actually spaghetti sauce.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Cute. It looks like one of those glasses from like a TikTok coffee maker.
Yeah.
Like, watch me make my iced coffee with me this morning.
Yeah.
And I add like a whole container of creamer.
Yeah. It's just spaghetti sauce.